Good morning. It's 17 Tishrei 5781. It's just over a week now, almost 10 days that we've been here in Panama, in Playa Coronado. And I want to tell a little timeline story that really shows the incredible plans that Hashem makes for people, the Hasgachah. That when we're willing to do His will and go all in for Him, the kind of things that can happen. And so I was born in 1965 in Los Angeles, Burbank, to be specific. And before I remembered anything, we moved to Caracas, Venezuela. My father was working for IBM and was offered, or was able to secure a transfer to Caracas, Venezuela. That would be around 1967, early 1967. And so the three of us moved to Caracas, and anybody who knows history, a little bit of Caracas, of Venezuela, at that time was a very successful oil power, and my father, working for IBM, was a salesperson and was selling computers to Esso Oil. That was his only account. And so my first memories are of living in Latin America, living in Caracas, Venezuela, and I loved it. I remember loving it, and I love Latin culture. And we used to go back to the United States, to Los Angeles, to visit family and whatnot, and so I remember that world and the travel back and forth at that time. Well, IBM back then anyway stood for I've been moved. Some people think it stands for International Business Machines, but it's actually I've been moved. And we moved an awful lot. We moved from Caracas to New York, and when I was around 5 years old, and then when I was 7, we moved back to Los Angeles, and then when I was 16, we moved to Texas, and it gets complicated and kind of convoluted. But after that, after we moved to Dallas when I was 16, I did a lot of back and forth to LA and so on and so forth. Well, fast forward to 1995, and I went to my first Jewish singles event, and the very first person I met is the person I ended up marrying almost 4 years later, Ceci. And she's from Panama. I was blown away. Here's this Jewish woman from a Latin country, and had a very Latin flavor to her. And anyway, now you fast forward to 5781, 2020, and I'm living in Panama. Well, I think a big part of the reason that I'm comfortable here, and that this ended up being an idea that I had. We wanted to move to Israel. The first thought we had when we said we need to get out. This is not the place we want to be and stay in the United States. And we wanted to. The first thought was Israel, and we went down that road a little bit and did a lot of research and made some preliminary applications and approvals with Nefesh B'Nefesh. That was very prohibitive, and if you look now at the case counts at this time and the fresh series of lockdowns in Israel, it was probably a smart move. But anyway, I am so comfortable here in Panama. It reminds me of being a kid in Caracas. There's so many aspects of the culture here, the weather, the whole feel of it has a very I feel of a lot like how Caracas was when I was a kid. And you think about the other thing is like the first home I remember, Caracas, is really uninhabitable. People live there, but as we know, the political situation there and the living conditions there and the reality of life in Caracas is nothing anyone would want to go to. And however, Panama is everything of what I remembered about Caracas. People very welcoming, and the Latin culture, the Jewish culture here, and everything is very familiar to me and very comfortable and very at ease. And and the incredible Hasgachah that I see in that, where, how could I have known that I would meet a person from Panama in Dallas? But maybe that's why I had to come to Dallas and eventually meet her, and then you come full circle. Now we're living here in Panama. It's just and amazing. And however, we wouldn't be here in Panama if I hadn't been willing to go all in for Hashem and just say, you know what, we will do whatever we need to do. And in the Zaman Herutenu of Pesach 5780, we were ready to go, just like, and we saw it. We said, the Jews had to become willing to leave with nothing but the clothes on their backs and the matzahs that they were carrying that didn't have a chance to rise. And we were willing to do that, and we were ready to leave any time that Hashem wanted us or let us. And we took that attitude all the way, you could say, to the bank, and ended up coming here. We were able to come a little more than just the clothes on our back and some unleavened bread, but we were willing. And now you come to the next of the Shalosh Regalim, and here we are. Enjoy. Well, it's not. This is the third, actually. We had Shavuot there, but in between. But here in 5781, we were able to close out 5780 and come into 5781 by leaving the United States, making our exodus to Panama, and now we're enjoying some Zaman Simchatenu here in Panama, and that's to me a proof that Hashem has a plan, and that He loves us, and that He wants us to go all in for Him. And when we do, the rewards can be, well worth it, more than we could ever have dreamed of. And so I just wanted to get that out and share that, and I hope everyone has a wonderful Sukkot and good Moed.